Well, let's start with the Baskervilles. One day, Mr. Kent said, "Could you come on in the office?" And he introduced me to Henry and Walter Baskerville. And at that time, they had some service stations. In fact, they had more service stations around here than anybody else. But so he got me started on some project with them. And I remember one interesting trip we had. What had happened is that generally the majors permitted the independents to sell their gas a little bit cheaper. And then all of a sudden Standard decided that they would meet the independents head on. So we sent a letter to Standard suggesting that what they were doing was not legal. And so we ended up having a meeting in Chicago. And Mr. Kent and Henry and Walter and I went down for the meeting. And Standard then decided that they would only meet with one person. And so I was delegated that responsibility. And when I got to the meeting, it was with the general counsel, who later became president of Standard, and an antitrust expert. So they needed two, but they only wanted one from somebody else. But anyway, we reminded them of the Pabst case and reminded them of their slogan, "You expect more from Standard and you get it." And I would say that it was probably no later than the next day that their price went back up. So we've had a lot of fun with Henry Baskerville. Henry traveled a lot, and he'd like to get together on Saturday mornings at his home out on Lake Minnetonka in order to go over things. He decided at one point that they should have a refinery, and so I ended up being involved in the ground floor all the way to the creation of a refinery near Duluth, and one other kind of little incident I will tell you about Henry. We went down to I would say this later on one day. Henry said to me, "You know, another firm has always handled the legal business for our towing company," and he said, "We've decided we want you to handle that too." And so and I'm reminded of that because this next one relates to the towing company. The railroads were always taking a shot at the towing companies. And so there was a lot of legislative stuff in Washington relating to the towing stuff. And so one day, Henry and I went down to Washington, and we had appointments with Senator Thigh and Senator Humphrey. And Thigh's appointment was first. And I knew practically everybody in Thigh's office, so after we got through with the appointment relating to the towing stuff, Bob Forsythe, the A for Thigh, said, "Let me show you a letter." And so he said, "We just got this letter this morning," and it was a copy of a letter to Hubert Humphrey. And it said, "Dear Hubert, I have been a lifelong Democrat, as you know. I've supported you each time. I contacted your office 6 weeks ago and I didn't get an answer. I followed that up 3 weeks later and I haven't gotten an answer. And this letter is just to let you know that you don't need to be concerned about it any longer. Senator Thigh's office has taken care of the problem for me." So now we go down to see Humphrey. And he says, "Oh, you cannot imagine how great it is to see people from Minnesota." He said, "As a matter of fact, just this morning I called in my entire staff, and I said to them, if you fail to realize that the only purpose we're here for is to serve the people from Minnesota," we knew he had gotten the letter. Yes, I've worked with the Packard family. I've worked with the Buckby family. I'm on 4 generations with both. You and I met with the 4th generation of the Baskerville family a couple weeks ago. And and we'll see a 4th generation of the Packard family in another few days. So that, yes, we've been fortunate enough to have that.